Good afternoon. This is News 2, and we are following a breaking story today, a shooting at a high school in Littleton, Colorado, that's near Denver. Here is what we know so far. Witnesses say 2 gunmen dressed in black trench coats with black masks opened fire at Columbine High School about lunchtime in Colorado. They said the gunmen went from one area of the school to another, shooting students as they went. A student who witnessed the shooting said the gunmen were carrying guns, a small Uzi, and some pipe bombs. Witnesses say the gunmen are students.
So far, we're hearing some conflicting reports, but it seems the most consistent number, 14 students have been injured. 5 have been taken to at least 2 hospitals with gunshot wounds. We are told the most severely injured was a female student suffering 9 gunshot wounds to her chest.
Police believe the gunmen are still inside the school. It is unclear if they've taken hostages. There are SWAT teams, as you can see from these pictures, all over the place. Police have locked down the schools. Nobody can get in, nobody can get out. Police say 90% of the students have been evacuated. The Columbine enrollment is 1,800, so hundreds of students are out of the school at this point.
On the phone right now with us is Ron Holliday, a spokesperson for the Sheriff's Department there in Jefferson County. And first of all, Mr. Holliday, can you tell us anything we've said so far sound out of place, or are we pretty much on track with what you know?
We have not confirmed the number of injured at this point. We have not got that number from our SWAT team. The Jefferson County SWAT team is indeed in the school and is methodically going through to find these shooters.
Any idea, Mr. Holliday, hostages? We've heard reports of that. Do we know the gunmen are holding students at gunpoint?
That is unconfirmed. We know there are at least 2 rooms that have students and faculty sealed off in them. They are at this point, as best we can tell, safe and are not being held hostage.
Okay, Mr. Holliday, the big question, obviously, who are these gun persons? I don't even know if we can call them gunmen. They're young men, if anything. Who are they?
We do not know at this point. You had it accurately that at least 2 of these people started this incident just shortly after 11 o'clock local time. They were dressed in black trench coats and berets and started this incident. At this point, we do not have identity.
And Mr. Holliday, the students were able to get out. I've seen pictures. They're just running for their lives. They just went out all exits of the schools. Can you describe that situation for us?
Well, it was chaotic at best, and people were indeed truly running for fear of their lives.
Okay, Ron Holliday, a spokesperson for the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department. I know you guys are busy out there, and we will let you get back to work. Obviously, we'll keep updating the story. Right now, we're waiting for a news conference to begin with police, but in the meantime, we've got some sound from students who are on that scene.
This right here is some of the video of one of the students brought in. Again, the most severely we've heard is a girl who was shot 9 times in the chest, and we're told that these students taken to hospitals were able to talk to the doctors. We have not heard at this point if any of the students is near death, but 5 people hospitalized, 14 injured. It's also believed one of those injured, at least one, is an adult.
And the important thing to note is it's still going on. Again, at least 2 gunmen are inside that school right now, so the exercise is how to get them out of there without anybody else getting hurt. So obviously this is a story we will continue following throughout the day. We will break in with news as it warrants, and of course we'll have full details on News 2 at 5.
Stay with us for more developments on this breaking story. See you soon.
Right now, and throwing grenades. The grenade part has not been confirmed, but explosions have been heard as witnesses have reported it to authorities. A short time ago, a dramatic rescue, the SWAT team rescuing a number of students, as you see them there. Between 10 and 15 students who were trapped inside Columbine High School were rescued and are now in safe hands. At nearby hospitals, 4 students have been treated for multiple gunshot wounds. Lori Dew along with me here with other details.
That's right. In fact, we're going to take you now to Swedish Medical Center, where our NBC producer Shane Nicholson is standing by. And Shane, we believe that 4 of the injured people have been taken to Swedish Medical Center. What can you tell us?
Lori, that's right. There are 2 boys and 2 girls that have been taken here to Swedish Medical Center. One of the boys was hit in the back, and one of the girls was hit with a single bullet wound to the chest. One boy, unfortunately, was hit in the chest 5 times and is listed in very serious condition. And the one student here that is unidentified, one of the 2 girls, was hit 9 times in the chest.
Shane, do you know if all of the students who have been injured who are there, are their parents at the scene? Have their parents been contacted? Do you know?
So far, most of the parents are here. Apparently, the girl who was hurt worst in this situation, her folks have not been contacted because she still remains unidentified.
All right, Shane, what else can you tell us about what's going on right there at the hospital?
Well, it's as you would expect, a frenzied scene. An ambulance just pulled up moments ago to deliver, I believe, the 3rd or 4th student. I'm not sure exactly how everything's coming in here. It may have been a 5th student. We haven't gotten confirmation on that.
Do you know if any more students may be on the way? We know that several more students were injured at the scene. Do you know if they're going to be heading towards Swedish Medical Center?
More than likely, no, at this point. There are 13 total students who have been injured. Apparently no fatalities as of yet, fortunately. But at this point, Swedish Medical Center is not expecting any more admissions. They
fly and chaos reigns in what could be the worst school shooting in the nation's history.
He came into the library and shot everybody around me, then put a gun to my head and asked if we all wanted to die.
Gunmen in trench coats and masks storm a suburban Colorado high school, spraying gunfire, sending frantic students running for their lives.
We ran into houses wherever we could go. We just went into any houses we could find.
Terrified parents wait for word. SWAT teams swarm the school, looking for the living, finding the dead.
When we did make entry into the library, it was a pretty gruesome sight.
2 suspects found dead. Who were they? Why did they do it? And after 8 school shootings in 2 years, many wonder, how could it happen again? Even the president seemed at a loss.
Perhaps we may never fully understand it. St. Paul reminds us that we all see things in this life through a glass darkly.
Tonight, the latest on the tragedy in Colorado. Should we have seen it coming? Can we stop it from happening again? A Dateline special, Killing at Columbine High. From our studios in New York, here is Tom Brokaw.
Good evening. It was the one place you used to think that your child would be safe. Instead, our schools are turning into killing fields. It happened again today in Littleton, Colorado, and this time it was a massacre. 2 students dressed in black trench coats opened fire in a suburban Denver high school, leaving an estimated 25 people dead, at least 20 wounded, and a nation with 2 burning questions. Why is this happening? What can be done to stop it? Tonight, the latest on the killing at Columbine High and a search for answers. We start with Chris Hansen as he takes us through the horror and the tragedy of this day in a Dateline minute by minute.
This is a very disturbing scene here. It's very chaotic. Police tell us there are even more victims still trapped inside the school.
It is a scene becoming sickeningly familiar. Gunfire and mayhem at a high school.
There were 2 suspects in the school at the time with shotguns and semi-automatic rifles.
Students who should be in class, instead running for their lives. Only by the end of the day would the scope of the tragedy become clear.
Possibly as many as 25 fatalities.
Brought in for security to try to help get wounded people out if we needed it. Unfortunately, when we did make entry into the library, it was a pretty gruesome sight.
The carnage was so great, the scenes so disturbing. The president went on national television tonight and promised to combat the epidemic of school violence.
That we must do more to reach out to our children and teach them to express their anger and to resolve their conflicts with words, not weapons. And we do know we have to do more to recognize the early warning signs that are sent before children act violently.
It all began at about 11:30 this morning when 2 gunmen burst into Columbine High School in suburban Denver. There was gunfire, reports of explosions, police and emergency personnel descended on the school. The whole terrifying scene played out on national television.
Well, it's happened again. There's been a shooting at a school in America. This time...
Students poured out of the school, telling stories about their encounters with the young gunmen. Stories that sounded strikingly similar.
I saw them have weapons, black masks, black trench coats, and needless to say, I was very frightened. I saw some students running, and I felt lucky that I got away as fast as I did. And I thank the Lord that I got to hide where I did and they did not see me and blow me away subsequently.
We hear a shot, a loud bang, and then we hear some guy go, "Holy crap, there's a guy with a gun." So everybody starts freaking out. One of my friends goes up to the door and says there's a guy standing there. We evacuate to the corner of our classroom, and my teacher just doesn't know what to do because she's so freaked.
As the crisis unfolded, the images often outran the information. For much of the day, more questions than answers.
We really don't know how many suspects. We do feel like we're dealing with certainly more than one.
The police officer tells me they aren't sure if there are any more injuries because they really don't know what's going on inside the school.
There was mass panic, and apparently the gunman then moved into the library.
I have heard shots. We took cover behind our patrol vehicles, and it sounded like heavy shots, as in a long rifle or some kind of an automatic weapon.
We understand that there were at least 2 explosions earlier on.
Have you heard from any of your friends? Did all your friends get out okay?
I have no idea. I haven't heard from a single one.
In a high school of 1,800 students, literally thousands of parents, relatives, and friends were desperately looking for information about their loved ones.
The police are asking you not to call 911. They're trying to get an information number up.
We have parents calling the church trying to find out if their kids, if we heard anything, if we know anything.
And police really had their hands full just trying to keep people from just, driving right by this barrier. They've just had to run after people and stop them because obviously, parents are very concerned and with good reason.
The fear spread to a nearby elementary school.
The school is in lockdown. None of the kids can get out. No one can get in.
And at 1:45, 2 hours after the shooting began, as more students managed to escape Columbine High, their stories told on live TV described the brutality inside.
I was in the library, and the whole room was just filled with smoke, and I heard gunshots all over, and the 2 guys came into the library and were just shooting everyone that they could. And the girl who was sitting right across from me under the table was shot in the head right there. And, it was the worst feeling that I've ever had because, blood was just going all over.
Now, how did you manage to get away?
Once they left the library, we just kind of ran and were running towards the cop cars.
Swarms of police and rescue crews attended to those who could get out. Emergency workers showed up on their day off to help.
There are probably about 150 to 200 officers from 6 or 7 different districts. There are still a lot of questions unanswered. There apparently has not been communication established with the shooters inside the building.
But even though no one had talked to the gunmen yet, a theory was forming on who they were.
And we understand from one witness, a student who goes to Columbine High School, that she describes a group that used to hang out, in her words, at the school, used to go by the name of Trenchcoat Mafia.
Several student witnesses said they thought the shooters were part of a clique that wore black trench coats to school. One claimed to hear a young gunman say why he was doing it.
They were saying that, that they wanted to do this for their revenge. For the school, I guess, because, they're such an outcast at our school.
At 1:50, as SWAT team officers entered the school to get more kids out, others detained 3 students nearby.
We had 3 individuals that were ascending upon the school wearing kind of military camouflage fatigue type things. They were detained, and it appears they are associates of these gentlemen or good friends of these gentlemen.
Still, no word from the gunmen, whoever they were, but reports from local hospitals spoke of multiple gunshot wounds. One girl suffered 9 wounds to the chest. Student survivors were loaded on buses and taken to a nearby elementary school. Parents were frantic to find them.
My daughter Bethany Urban, I can't find her.
Some parents were reunited with their children, relief that defied words. Some students were still wondering what happened to their friends.
Who specifically are you looking for from your friends?
A couple of my friends, 2 Megans and Courtney and Nicole, and we're just trying to find them all.
Off the perimeter.
3:40 p.m. News reports indicate the female student with 9 chest wounds is out of surgery and incredibly is in fair condition. At least 2 other teens with multiple gunshot wounds are still in the operating room.
More students, still more.
3:50 p.m. Law enforcement officers continue to evacuate shaken students from the school, ordering them to run with their hands on their heads. Everyone is a potential suspect.
Hopefully none of these are any of those that were involved in the shooting.
For some, there is relief.
I don't know, our friends just showed us. Yeah, and more people keep showing up, so we have more and more reason to be happy.
But many students are still unaccounted for. Inside Columbine High School, the extraordinary drama continues to unfold. SWAT teams combing every inch, searching for students, suspects, alive or dead. At 4:05, after a day of watching and waiting, Steve Davis, a spokesman for the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, holds a press conference to deliver the sobering facts. The news is not good.
Right now, the latest update that I have heard is that we have approximately 15 to 18 people who have been transported to area hospitals. We do have some fatalities.
For the first time, Davis confirms there are fatalities. 2 suspects dead in the library. And Davis says the death toll inside could be as high as 25.
It's unknown whether those fatalities are students, faculty, or a mixture of both.
The scene inside, Davis says, is gruesome. Explosive devices were also found near the dead suspects.
The SWAT team from our department has been joined by at least 3 other SWAT teams from area agencies, and they are still currently working the area and the building, looking for additional victims and suspects.
A third potential suspect, not at the school, has been taken into custody. But law enforcement officers say they still are unsure what was behind the deadly shooting spree.
Well, it appears to be a suicide mission, but one, I think we've had a lot of media attention on these things around the country, and you don't know how much that plays into giving somebody else an idea to do it.
While one student had speculated that revenge was the motive, another who was inside says there may have been more to it than that. Hate.
I looked out the window, and there was a kid with a trench coat and a shotgun throwing pipe bombs in the parking lot, and then he shot a girl outside. And then he came into the cafeteria, and you could hear, like, bombs and shotguns going off. And then he came into the library, shot everybody around me, and put a gun to my head and asked if we all wanted to die, and he's going to kill us if we were of color, and if we had a hat, and if we were his played sports.
And what did you do at that point?
I just started screaming and crying and telling him not to shoot me. And so he shot the girl, and she shot her in the head in front of me. And he shot the black kid because he was black. And he shot him in the face.
To the families who have lost their loved ones, to the parents who have lost their beloved children, to the wounded children and their families, to the people of the community of Littleton, I can only say tonight that the prayers of the American people are with you.
As he addressed the nation on television tonight, President Clinton reflected on the agony of a small Colorado community and the nation as he promised help.
I've asked the Attorney General and the Secretary of Education to stand ready to assist local law enforcement, the schools, the families, the entire community during this time of crisis and sorrow. A crisis response team is ready now to travel to Colorado, and I strongly believe that we should do whatever we can to get enough counselors to the families and the children as quickly as possible.
No one can overestimate the work crisis counselors do. But after Pearl, Mississippi, after Paducah, Kentucky, after Jonesboro, Arkansas, and Springfield, Oregon, parents, teachers, and students are asking when the day will come when crisis counselors won't have to be sent in the first place.
Joining us this evening from Littleton, Colorado is Dan Abrams, who's been there all day long. Dan, what's the status of the investigation, especially about those explosive devices that were left around the school?
Well, Tom, first of all, the SWAT teams and the bomb squads have actually left the building, meaning the actual school premises. That's allowed investigators to really just begin their work, to begin identifying the victims, to begin examining the crime scene. Now, they had cordoned off about 3 blocks around the school for fear that there would be more explosive devices there. Remember, these were kids who weren't just using handguns, they were using all sorts of explosive devices. The police were concerned that they might have booby-trapped certain areas. Various students had shrapnel wounds, so they wanted to be very careful. But as of right now, we're being told that they have not detonated any devices in the surrounding area around the building, but the bomb squad is still working outside of the building as the investigators work inside.
And what about identification of those people who were found dead in the library?
They're saying that's a long way away. So a lot of families are going to have a long night ahead of them. The coroner is going to be the one ultimately to identify the victims and maybe the ones who actually call their family members. That's going to make it a very tough night for people who are wondering where their children are.
Any idea about how many of them were faculty members and how many of them were students?
We have no sense at this point except from eyewitness accounts from various students. And the only accounts we've heard from students so far have been that it's been students who were shot. But keep in mind, we have been told officially that it is a mix of both faculty members and students. The exact numbers we don't know.
And what about the suspects themselves? Are they confident now that those 2 who were found dead are the only suspects, or is there somebody still at large?
They say the investigation is continuing. Remember, they stopped a number of other people who they believe may have been associates of those 2, but they are continuing the investigation, and they said that really it's just beginning as they finally get into the school building.
Dan Abrams, thank you very much. I'll be right back.
Coming up, he came face to face with the gunman and survived.
I started shooting. Just anybody who was walking, talking, didn't matter. Boom, they shot.
Hear his eyewitness account. Plus, while another town mourns the loss of its children, the question, how can the survivors ever resume normal lives?
Any kind of traumatic, life-altering, life-threatening situation will have effects for many people for the rest of their lives.
The long-term effects of unbearable trauma. When our Dateline special, Killing at Columbine High, continues.
Columbine High School in Littleton, Colorado, and the latest as we know it is this. Out of a press conference, a briefing, an off-camera briefing just moments ago, police have informed us they believe approximately 25 people have been killed. Another 25 are injured, the 25 dead, including the 2 suspects in this, but they stress repeatedly the number is not a solid one. They don't know exactly how many people have died in this incident. They're hoping to have that by early morning. Right now, SWAT teams and the bomb squad are inside Columbine High School, making a second sweep of that building. They've found further explosives within and other explosives inside vehicles in the school parking lot. It is believed at this point that no other suspects are involved here. No other charges are pending. No one else is in custody at this hour. Immediately following this most recent bomb search, there will be yet another. And when that's complete, then and only then will investigators go in to try and figure out exactly how all of this happened. So far, investigators admit the majority of their information, if not all of it, coming from faculty and from students who were inside the school at the time. And one of those students is Josh Nielsen, who is a junior at Columbine, was inside when the gunshots began, when the pipe bombs went off, and he's with us once again. As you look back on this, should anyone have known, should anyone have had an idea, these kids got problems, these kids need to be watched?
Well, I mean...
The signs, were there any signs?
Well, I think the fact that they kept to themselves and basically looked like the kind of people that had a hard life, or I guess you could say, I mean, they weren't very sociable or anything.
These were the outcast kids?
Yeah, the outcasts.
The kids nobody liked and pushed aside?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know, a lot of people gave them a very hard time and started rumors about them.
What kind of rumors?
Saying that they were gay. I mean, stuff that most people would just brush off their shoulders, but I think they held it all in until it came down to this.
Now, our understanding is, and this from police reports just a short time ago as a matter of fact, police tell us that this is the birthday of Adolf Hitler, and that these guys had talked about how on this particular, actually this part doesn't come from police, but they do say that they believe there is some sort of connection here, and that police believe there is speculation among the police ranks that might be part of it. Were you hearing that kind of stuff at school?
Yeah, I was. I know that they talked a lot, I guess, about stuff like World War II and stuff, and I did hear that they planned on doing it on Hitler's birthday from other students. Whether they actually did or not, I don't know, but it would seem like something they'd do.
Your friends, other classmates who were in there and heard all of this, describe how people are doing.
Most of my friends, I think they're doing all right, or at least last time I saw them. But yeah, I don't know if they've heard any news about our other friends. There are some people that I haven't talked to yet. Don't know if they're all right or not. But the friends that I did see when we first got out of here, they were all right. But I don't know if they're doing the same as they are now that they've heard all this news.
Yeah. Nobody expects anything like this, obviously. Never in my town. I'm sure all those thoughts are in your head. But is there any sort of thing that maybe people around the country watching ought to know? I mean, is it time to pay a little more attention, or what do you think?
I think that, I mean, if you're thinking that it can't happen in your own town or it's impossible, well, that's not true. It's possible anywhere, no matter what. There's no exceptions. Everybody, this could happen to anybody. These are just people that decide to go with this, and every place has people that can make those decisions.
Josh Nielsen, thanks for being with us. Get yourself some sleep tonight.
Yeah.
We'll be thinking about you guys. All right, so many people in this community have found comfort, as often is the case in these sort of situations, in their churches. And as we drove in tonight, we were met first after leaving the Denver airport by a police officer who told us we couldn't drive through a particular neighborhood because there were fears that there might be bombs there. They sent us on a round trip around a couple of blocks and by a very large church, which is just about 2 blocks from here. And as we drove up, at first we thought it might be this command post, but instead there were hundreds and hundreds of cars lining a major thoroughfare and into a residential neighborhood, and all of those cars had emptied and made their way into a sanctuary nearby. And certainly that is good news for all those in this town. With me now, Reverend Joel Miller, who's the minister of the Columbine Unitarian Church. Yes. Step over just a little bit if you could. I can't, where do you start with people who have been through such a tragedy?
Starting with, most of my parents are stunned. They really don't know what to think or what even to feel yet. It's a tragedy of such magnitude for us here in this community, especially because this community it's a very diverse community, economically, socially, racially, but it has one thing in common. The people in this community love their children, and it's a very family-oriented community. So this tragedy hits us right at the very center of our souls.
I don't know a lot about the town, but I know from speaking with people that it's a town which kind of sprung up about 20 years ago, middle class to upper middle class, normal kind of place.
Yeah, very much so. People who do everything from drive trucks, rocket scientists, teachers, physicians, painters, drywall hangers. I mean, all kinds of folks live here.
Your challenges are going to be enormous in the days to come. Tonight, as you meet with and counsel with people, what are you finding are the most immediate needs?
The most immediate needs are to talk about what happened. People need to talk about what happened. But parents are starting to talk about why this happened. And, you know, my parents represent a broad diversity, again, in political beliefs. But they're looking at the presence of guns in schools. And even
tonight, is there a message for parents whose kids are running around in the backyard right now?
Yes. Our kids need our love and attention. We need to, as a nation, spend more attention and care and resources on their well-being, their recreational life even, their spiritual lives. These kids who did this shooting, I understood they talked a lot about power. I think they felt powerless. I think all of our children have a right to feel like they have some power in their lives, some control over their lives, and some connection with their neighbors and their and friends. And I think they were missing that. I think in this specific case, I don't know about other cases, in this case, these children felt powerless, and they decided to act out in the most powerful way they could. And they have access to guns, and they used them.
Driving in tonight, was listening to one of the local talk radio stations, and by the way, the talk radio stations have moved from grief to a great deal of anger, and that's understandable, and it happens. But one of the folks on the radio said, you know, you don't hear about this in anywhere else, any other first world country in the world. You don't hear about this in Europe. You don't hear about it in Australia. It only happens in the most powerful country with the greatest resources. Where have we gone wrong?
And what resources do our kids have access to? Are guns, to powerful firearms. Children feel powerless. They get into fights. It's always happened. When I was a kid, kids would get into fights. What they didn't have were guns. The fights weren't good. It's not good that fights happen. They happen. People learn how to control their anger, hopefully, as they become adults. But when our children have access to guns, a childhood tussle becomes murder.
I can hear the emails coming at the moment. I get a lot of them. And a lot of our viewers are saying right now, guns don't kill people, people kill people. And furthermore, we're kind of in a position now where there are more guns than human beings. Since today we can't get rid of the guns, what can we do to try and keep this from happening somewhere out there tomorrow?
It's true that the guns don't kill people. The guns represent a belief that use of power will solve our problems. And really, the guns are out there, and they'll always be out there. What we need to do is to care for each other as neighbors. We need to be good neighbors across faith. Muslims and Jews and Christians and atheists, all people of all these faiths in our community, of all backgrounds, they need to look to each other for support. They need to look to each other and say, my power is in my friendship with a neighbor, not in a handgun, not in a concealed gun.
What are the plans now for taking care of the, not hundreds, but thousands and thousands?
By sharing our grief together.
And now, Littleton. Tonight, a community and the nation. More.
From ABC News, this is Nightline. Reporting from Washington, Ted Koppel.
Think about this. In 4 weeks of air action against Serbian targets in Yugoslavia and Kosovo, the U.S. military has yet to suffer a single casualty. In a few hours of mindless violence today at a suburban high school outside Denver, 2 kids are believed to have killed and wounded about 50 of their classmates and then killed themselves. As we all begin to process what happened and begin to wonder why, consider this. According to one of the students from Columbine High School, who'll be joining us in a few minutes, the shooters may have belonged to a group that was known as the Trenchcoat Mafia. There were about 8 or 10 of them who wore black trench coats to school every day, no matter what the weather, and some of them used to draw swastikas on their body. It may or may not be relevant, but today, April 20th, would have been Adolf Hitler's 110th birthday. When you're trying to explain why high school students would blow away 25 or more of their classmates, wounding a similar number, one theory seems to be as good as the next. So what did happen today in Littleton, Colorado, this place that most of us had never heard of until today? Here's ABC correspondent Judy Muller.
Shortly after 11:15 Mountain Time, the first signs of trouble. Outside Columbine High School in the parking lot, students hear the sound of gunfire.
And we looked over and we saw some guys peeking around the corner with guns. And we saw them shoot 3 people in the parking lot. And
That's when we knew it was real.
Yeah.
They saw the gunman throw grenades or pipe bombs on top of the school roof. A number of witnesses recognized the two as members of a group called the Trenchcoat Mafia.
Yeah, they wear trench coats every day to school, and wear makeup and paint their nails and stuff. They're just I don't know, everyone kind of thinks of them as different, and they always just hang out with themselves only, kind of associate themselves with death and violence.
They always wear black clothing or dark clothing, glasses, berets. They get made fun of a lot.
Not a lot of kids like them.
Yeah.
They get made fun of a lot.
Yeah, by other students sometimes.
11:30, the fire alarm was sounded. School teacher Paula Reed hustled her students out.
As I got outside the building, like right outside the building, teachers and administrators were yelling to the kids, get them out of here, get them out of here, get them all the way to the park.
At first, she said, there was no panic.
Kids started to run out of the gymnasium saying there are people in there with guns. But the general reaction from most of the people around me was, yeah, right. Because there are no guns to speak of at Columbine. At least that's our perception of things.
But many students were trapped inside the building. For the next hour and a half, the two gunmen made their lives hell as they roamed the hallways, classrooms, and cafeteria, firing in every direction.
I heard people pray for their husbands, their children, you name it. And at that point, these guys would kill them just to kill.
Senior Nick Foss witnessed the horror before he managed to escape.
I've never seen so many dead people in my life, and some of my friends did. You know, I've never seen someone's face shot off in front of me. It's not cool, not pretty. I can't get out of my head.
Some of the worst carnage was in the library.
There was a guy at a table right next to me and her, and they just shot him, and then walked away, and then he was just sitting there in a pool of blood.
We all got under the desk, and then they just started coming in the library and opening fire and shooting off bombs.
By noon, police SWAT teams had surrounded the building. They pulled students out whenever and however they could. One student who'd been wounded was pulled through a second-floor window. At a time when students would normally be finishing their lunch and returning to class, they were still fleeing, many taking refuge in nearby houses. The scene was chaos as paramedics tried to treat the wounded and parents tried to locate their children. Some of them were reunited at a nearby school. All the while, inside the Columbine High School, the shooting continued. At 12:15, the first of the wounded were taken to nearby hospital. At approximately 1 p.m., nearly 1.5 hours after the shooting began, the SWAT team entered. Dozens of students ran out with their hands in the air. Police were wary that the gunmen might try to escape by blending in with the crowd. As the afternoon wore on, the wait became excruciating for those parents who had still had no word of their children. Many of them gathered here at a local public library near the school, where lists had been posted of names of children who had called in to let their parents know they were all right. For those who could not find the name on the list they were looking for, it was a very, very long day. Between 2 and 4 p.m., the scene in this neighborhood was one of extremes. Joy when families were reunited, and despair when the minutes ticked by with no news. Every now and then, an official would read off an updated list of those found. Then, at 4:16 p.m., the sheriff held a news briefing to deliver the news everyone feared.
Well, we've transported initially 14 to local area hospitals with gunshot wounds, and we've had, well, I understand, 25 additional victims that were deceased.
7 p.m. Parents, students, teachers, and neighbors gather at the Light of the World Catholic Church, just a few blocks from the high school. And throughout this stunned community, people were repeating the same thing that too many other communities have said in recent years.
I just keep thinking that this does not happen at our school, and that I'm going to wake up and this is going to be over. Because, God, not at Columbine, you know? It happens in some other school somewhere else. It doesn't happen here.
Now that it has happened here, the gruesome but all too familiar denouement begins. The search for a motivation, the calls for tighter gun control, the counseling sessions at school, and the endless, endless grief. In Denver, I'm Judy Muller for Nightline.
Tomorrow morning's Denver Post identifies the two suspects as 18-year-old Eric Harris and 17-year-old Dylan Klebold. Both reportedly died of self-inflicted gunshot wounds. Joining us now from outside the scene of today's tragedy, John Stone, the Jefferson County Sheriff. Rough day, huh, Sheriff?
It was a rough day. Sad day for Colorado.
A sad day for the country. What is it that you can tell us about the situation inside that building now? Because I gather you still haven't been able to remove the bodies.
That's correct. We have an unsafe situation due to the amount of bombs we found in the school. We removed 12 of them out of there so far. We're running into booby traps at different locations due to the late hour here right now, and we're going to secure the site for the night. We can't even go in and remove bodies or do any of that identification because of the massive amount of ordnance that we run into in the building. It makes it an unsafe situation right now.
When you talk about bombs, what are you talking about? Pipe bombs or grenades?
I haven't seen any of the devices yet, but a lot of them are handmade devices. but we've exploded several of them. We found them both outside in the parking lot of the school, outside of the school area, and so far a dozen of them in the school.
When you find them, and you've referred to booby traps, in what way are they set up to explode?
Well, we found one device on one of the suspect's cars that was set to detonate the gas tank as our officers were trying to secure it. We've got ordnance on the bodies of the suspects that needs to be deactivated before we can move those bodies.
So in other words, if I hear you correctly, before they killed themselves, they booby-trapped their own bodies?
That there's evidence of some of that on those bodies.
I did say before they killed themselves, and I think I have heard that, but I'd like to hear you confirm it. Are you satisfied that they committed suicide, or did they shoot one another?
We suspect that they probably killed themselves.
Have you been inside the
cast?
This is News 4 at 10. It has been an incredibly emotional day, not just for the victims, their families, other students, and the faculty, but also for people who watched the day unfold on television.
It should have been just another day at Columbine High School. It was not.
Everyone around me got shot, and I begged him for 10 minutes not to shoot me. He just put the gun in my face and started bleeding everywhere and started laughing, saying that it was all because people were mean to him last year.
The first warning at Columbine sounds like firecrackers.
We looked up, we saw 2 kids in trench coats with guns.
Those kids start shooting even before they get inside the school.
I started looking for people who had been hit. I went out of the cafeteria and out the side door of the school. There were 3 students that had been hit, one really close to the door. I started trying to assess their wounds. I got a hold of 911 and started telling them what their wounds were.
Some students run from the school area immediately.
One of them turned at us, started shooting. We fell to the ground, and then the bullet stopped. I don't know what he was doing. He might have been reloading or something.
We ran outside the commons and up the stairs. There's 3 dead bodies laying on the stairs. One at the bottom, one in the middle, and then one at the top on the grass. And they're clearly dead.
Hundreds of other students remain trapped inside the school, terrified, looking for a hiding place.
And then they just kept saying, run this way, run that way, and we opened one of the doors and we heard like a big gunshot.
Then the shooters enter the school cafeteria.
And we got out of our car to see what happened because we found out that our physics teacher, Mr. Graham, was shot in the cafeteria.
As many as 500 officers descend on Columbine. They stop anyone who's in the wrong place at the wrong time as the shooters continue to move through the school.
And then you could hear them laughing and running up the stairs, and they were shooting anyone of color wearing a white hat or playing a sport. And they didn't care who it was, and it was all at close range.
Helicopters, ambulances rush the injured to area hospitals. Students help other students. Neighbors run to give first aid. There seem to be injured everywhere. Hours pass. SWAT teams enter the school. Then a sight both tragic and comforting. Uninjured students running from the school, their hands over their heads, right past the body of one victim. As students huddle outside, other students remain trapped inside, frantically looking for an escape route. Equally frantic, the parents, desperate to find their children.
He just walked up to me 10 seconds ago. Now I have a daughter yet still that's going there as a senior, and we're still looking for her.
Joyous reunions for some families only serve to remind that there will be terrible pain for other families.
We're not prepared for this. I mean, they don't teach the teachers, like, when someone comes in and shoots at your school.
This is the kind of thing that happens somewhere else.
Not at our school. Not at Columbine High School.
But today it happened, and it happened here.
The big question tonight, why? Investigator Brian Moss has spent his day tracking down information about the suspects, and he joins us now. Brian, we understand you know more now about the 2 dead suspects.
We're getting new information at this hour, Amy, about the 2 suspects. Law enforcement sources have now confirmed that both had juvenile records. Both had been prosecuted criminally in Jefferson County for juvenile crimes. Friends say the two were involved in a small, non-conformist group called the Trench Coat Mafia. No more than 8 students or so at the school. Wearing trench coats was a trademark. They would also wear lipstick and eyeshadow, and they would try to appear threatening. One student, Eric Harris, seemed to embody all that the Trench Coat Mafia wanted to stand for. In this picture, Eric Harris looked no different than many high school students. But those who knew him say the high school senior was anything but normal.
He was a scary kid.
Stephen Partridge remembers going bowling with Harris and friends.
Kid. But I didn't get the impression he'd do something like this, but I think he had some issues. Like if he got a strike, he would hail. Like he was hailing to Hitler.
Other friends say Harris came from a good family, but was wrapped up with a small group of friends in what was known as the Trench Coat Mafia. On various internet sites, the fringe group seems filled with hate and acknowledges they are hated in return. One site, reputed to have been created by Harris himself, lays out directions on how to make pipe bombs. Randy Brown says he saw the trouble coming a long time ago. He says he filed complaints with Jefferson County authorities on how Harris had threatened to kill Brown's son.
We actually went to Jefferson County Sheriff, 2 official visits to talk to detectives and members of the bomb squad. He had threatened my son's life on the internet. He was making pipe bombs. All of this was available information on the internet. We took it to the police over a year and a half ago, and nothing was done.
His actions just seemed like he really just had a lot of anger. Like Mr. Brown said, he had a lot of anger. He needed a release, but he didn't have one. And I think that's what finally happened today, is that he just let it all out.
To date, Jefferson County authorities, who have their hands full tonight, have not been able to confirm any of those written complaints about Eric Harris. Now, the second gunman, who friends say was more of a follower, is identified this evening as Dylan Klebold, also a Columbine High School student. The Jefferson County Sheriff's Department says it is talking to 2 other young men to see what they know about today's massacre, but the Sheriff's Department is stopping short of calling them suspects. Back to you now.
Brian, any word on what Harris and Klebold were prosecuted for before?
Sources have told me that one of the 2 faced charges for first-degree criminal trespass. I don't know what the second was prosecuted for, but both had been prosecuted as juveniles in Jefferson County before.
Thanks, Brian.
As many as 500 police officers have been at Columbine High School all day. Investigators continue to work the scene at this hour. News 4's Suzanne McCarroll has also been on the scene since this morning. What's the latest from there, Suzanne?
Well, right now we're told that the bodies will not likely be brought out until late tomorrow morning or even early tomorrow afternoon. Paramedics recently came out who went inside and described the scene in there. They say many of the bodies are seen huddled under their desks, obviously seeking safety and protection from the gunmen as they came in. It's a horrifying sight, according to the paramedic. And he says that there are bodies everywhere inside, and that was one of the most disturbing things to him, is not just the scene, but how many bodies were inside. Now, right now, SWAT team members are paired up with bomb squad members. They are going on a buddy system to make one final sweep inside the school, because earlier this evening they found about 12 pipe bombs both in and around the school. We want to show you some video that was shot just in the last hour. This is on the school perimeters. And it's not inside the school, but this is as they are making a sweep of the parking lot. And in the parking lot, west of the school, they found 2 cars with explosives inside. They were covered with blankets. And again, this is video shot on the school premises. The drama began about 11 o'clock this morning as the students filed out of classrooms telling horrifying stories of what was going on inside Columbine High on a Tuesday morning.
And the principal came running around the corner and told us to get in the gym. And the guy started shooting. We heard the gunshots and we saw the smoke from the guns, so we just started running as fast as we could.
We ran outside the commons and up the stairs. There's 3 dead bodies laying on the stairs. One at the bottom, one in the middle, and then one at the top on the grass. And they're clearly dead.
We saw 2 kids in trench coats with guns, and another kid just standing there on the side of the school in white. We saw him, one of them turned at us, started shooting.
Toward you?
Yeah, towards us. We were probably 100 yards away. We fell to the ground, and then the bullet stopped. I don't know what he was doing. He might have been reloading or something.
And again, back here live, 300 to 500 police officers on the scene looking for clues. But as they search for clues, the students here really just have one question: why? And that's something police may not ever